You won't be miserable. God will never guide you to a place where He will not provide for you. And they want to go around and be what I call Jesus cops. Oh, yeah. And they're going to just bust everybody in the name of Jesus. It's about the very God of heaven liking me and me having a relationship with this God. They didn't see it come to fruition themselves, but they knew it was going to happen. You ever have wars going on the inside? The big battle. Not necessarily always the battle between Satan and God, but the battle between good, better, and best. Choices, battles. Where do the battles in life come from? On the outside. That's the big question. I don't know if you've ever been in a battle with a neighbor or with family members or church people, but it happens all the time. And you got to recall that this book is being written to Christians. And James had been seeing some things in the first 3 chapters that he was tired of seeing, and the Holy Ghost led him to write the book to the scattered saints who were all throughout the empire. Because what he was seeing in churches did not mesh with the heart of God. We saw that there was faithlessness going on. We saw that there was partiality going on. We saw that when people had money, everybody in church, liked those people. But when somebody came in poor and couldn't afford a lot of stuff, people kind of shoved them in a corner and said, hey, be my footstool. James says this stuff ought not so to be. Then he talked about mouths, people's mouths. In church, they'll glorify the Lord. Lord Jesus, I love you. And then they'll leave church and cuss their kids out and cuss their family members out and the people at work and their neighborhood and everybody. And he said, I'm telling you, brothers, these things ought not so to be. You either praise the Lord and praise man, or curse the Lord and curse man. You do one or the other. Wow, that brings it down to where the rubber hits the road, the real deal. What is the truth? What is the truth of your spirit, your heart? Who are you? You got to know who you are before you can deal with others and help them with knowing who they are. You got to know yourself. Do not be deceived. God is not mocked. For whatsoever a man sows in the field, he's going to reap in that field. He says, but that's a good thing. Because if you're sowing righteousness, you're sowing joy, you're giving. God says He's going to bring you a harvest that is 30, some 60, and some 100-fold. That's either way. Whatever kind of seed you throw down, it could be a wild oat or it could be an oat. But if you sow wild oats, you're going to reap wild oats. And the reaping is far more in number, far more in quantity than the little seed you threw out. And that's a good thing when you're throwing out good things. So James looks at this church. He says, man, I am sick and tired of your falsifications, of your lying, of your pretending, of your partialities. He says, this is not the heart of God. The heart of God is taking care of people in need. This is the heart of God. And it starts with taking care of yourself and knowing who you are and having your right relationship with the Lord, your groom. Obana was sharing with us earlier tonight about the relationship with a wife. Relationship, having the best wife on the planet. And I got to say, in my case, it's the same thing. We are perfect as a couple. Now, we are Mutt and Jeff. We don't belong together when you look at us on the outside. Because I'm so damn good looking. But we don't. But we belong together on the inside. And we do belong together on the outside. And we're looking at James, who's looking at people saying, hey, this is the relationship you need with Jesus Christ. It needs to be that kind of relationship, a pure relationship, a relationship where you mesh together. Everything is fine. It works together. The machine is working. It's oiled up. A lot of times people come to church and God's doing this and they're not even moving. And we're supposed to be working together in a relationship with the Lord Jesus Christ. And James is looking at this church who calls themselves Christian, and they go by the name of the Lord Jesus Christ, and they sing praise songs, and they have dinner on the grounds, and they do all this glorified stuff, and yet there's crap going on in the midst of the people. Wars, fightings, battlings. Little girl was outside playing with some girlfriends, and all of a sudden, Daddy was in the garage working. He's working on a car, and all of a sudden he hears these girls just screaming to the top of their lungs at each other. And he walked out there and said, "Honey, what is going on?" She goes, "Oh, don't worry, Daddy. We're just playing church." I know of a church business meeting. They were battling over whether the garbage can should be plastic or metal. They had a knockdown, drag-out fight over it. They had to call the cops in to settle their dispute in their church. I know the same story about somebody who's fighting over red carpet or blue, which meant they were either going to have blue-backed pews or red-backed pews. And one half of the crowd didn't want their backs being laid against red, and the other didn't want their butts sitting on blue. So let's fight. How about this? How about in Jesus' day, they had no soft little cushy pew, and they had no big steeple that cost 80 grand. They gave to the poor and they helped people out. And James saw the same thing happening back then. Guys, those ain't the good old days of church, because what was going on then is the same thing that's going on now. As long as there's people involved, Jesus will be left out. But I'm telling you what, he's given us the privilege to be involved people and bring Jesus in. And when you bring Jesus in, you're going to bring people in. You're going to bring them in from the fields of sin. And he says, so where do these battles that we see in life as Christians, we're thinking as Christians, not the world, your battles, all the battles that happen in your life, where do they come from? From inside your spirit. Inside you. Inside you, that battle that's going on in you has now made its way to the outside, and it's battling everything else. And Jesus says, man, it's time to get the battle on the inside straightened out. What did he say? He said, where do these wars and fightings come from? Do they not come hence even of your own freaking lusts that war in your members? That word lust is hedonism. Hedonism is the act of doing whatever I want when I want it, just because it makes me feel good. Not just always sexually, but that's where the word goes. Now, what is it you want in life? Apart from God, just the selfish you. And what are you going to do to get it? Remember last time we talked together, there was two types of wisdom. The streetwise guy says how he's going to get it, and he comes up with a game plan. And the God-wise guy comes up with a game plan that was already developed years ago. And Jesus said, call unto me, and I will answer you, and I will show you great and mighty things you never even knew about. And he says, the reason you have problems on the outside, and the reason there's bickerings and fightings in your midst, if that's your kind of personality and who you are, it's because you ain't straight on the inside. You are wrong. If you're a battler, if you're a complainer, if you're a moaner, if you're a whiner, if everything is bad, and all you see is the bad side of life, it's because you have a bad innards. Jesus says, I'm looking at the heart. I'm ready to let you know that I see your heart. And we're talking with peace and purity and righteousness and goodness and something that's easy to be entreated and inviting. And where do all these church wars come from? I tell you why. Because I think a lot of the deacons on the boards are demons. I think a lot of the people who are elders are demonic. And I believe a lot of people who are in church leadership, not all by any means, and a lot of times there's churches where there have been wisdom and prayed over, and the board and the deacons are leaders. And here's what a Bible deacon does. He serves. He doesn't make decisions that determine the church's future. That is satanic. That is putting myself forward. That is being streetwise. That is bringing business into the business of God. And Jesus said, I am ready for people who have a heart after me. I think that's us. I think that's me. Is that you? Are you ready to listen? Are you ready to do? Are you ready to have peace on your insides and stop the war that is fighting within? Have you come to the place where you said, God, instead of what I want what you want? Here's what the Bible says. See that word we used a second ago? Hedon, lust, my own pleasure, the things that make me happy. He says when God becomes that very thing, my pleasure, the things that make me happy, the word is used, delight. If I will delight myself in the Lord, He will give me the what of my heart? The desires of my heart. But if I go out there and negate God and say, here's my desire, my desire, my desire, da 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 da, you're going to have a life of misery, and you're going to have ultimate fighting going on in your chest, in your spirit. And then it's going to work its way to the outside world. And people hate to see you coming. And Jesus said, man, we don't need to be hated to be seen coming. Because when you taste and see that the Lord's good, you're going to know that His people are just that good too. And that's the way it works. And He says it's time we come to the Lord and say, Lord, I want you to be the pleasure and desire of my heart. And He said when we do that, He will start putting desires in our hearts, and we will start wanting the right thing. And then He says He will fulfill every one of those desires that He puts in our heart. That means instead of being over here and having the battle going on, and here's what I want, here's what I want, here's what I want, here's what I want, and none of it taking place and me being miserable, I say, Lord, you're what I want. Then He puts desires in my heart. He says, now son, here's what you want, here's what you want, here's what you want, here's what you want. And I give myself wholeheartedly to Him, and He brings them to pass. And instead of being miserable, I have joy after joy after joy after joy. Which game plan sounds better to you? The church of God or the church of demons? Just because you use the word Jesus doesn't mean you're a Jesus church. And that's what James is telling these people. Look at that next verse. You just lust, you desire, you hedonism, you hedonize, you want. But you're not going to have it. You do not have it. Just based on what we talked about a second ago. You even go to the point in your own battle, in your own manipulation, to where you're even willing to kill to get what you want. There's a lot of speculation going on among scholars about what this verse means. Some say, hey, it means something, da da da. I believe, I'm on the side who believes that this actually happened in a church. That somebody got so jealous and manipulative to the point, and they were manipulating the situation to where they just outright killed somebody over it. Christians, so-called. Guys, the last commandment in God's commandment, God's law, the 10 Commandments in Exodus, the very last one, it says, do not lust. Do not hedonize. Do not covet. Do not want what you don't have or can't get. And when you break that commandment, the other 9 are broken easily. Because if I want this, apart from wanting God and His being my desire, my delight, when I make Him my delight, my passion, my lust, my everything, and He starts putting stuff in my life, and He says, this is where I want you to go, and I start going that way, and He starts blessing me along the way. Unless I'm doing that, I'm over here, I'm on the covet side. I'm on the thou shalt not covet. Forget that part of it, God. I want something. I'm going to focus on the things that I don't have instead of focusing on my all in all. You, my Lord Jesus. We begin to come over here and I want this and I want this. I want a bigger house. I want a bigger TV. I want a bigger da. I want purple walls. I want da, or whatever it is you want that you don't have. And when you start wanting that which you should not want, it's not going to be long before you're taking the name of the Lord in vain. And it won't be long before you're stealing to get what you want. And killing, like James just said, to get what you want. And manipulating. And lying, bearing false witness. Committing adultery. Blowing God out of the water. Making unto you graven images. Oh, this new TV. This motorcycle. Jesus says, hey, why don't you get the idols out of your way and look unto me, the author and finisher of your faith, and I will make your joy full. That my joy might remain in you, He said, and that your joy might be full. You got full joy? Or you got these wicked fightings going on inside you, tearing you apart. It's time that we start desiring the right thing and not all the wrong things. Are you willing to turn your heart toward the Lord today and say, you are all I want. You are all I need. And then the benefits package that he brings along with him is some kind of cool. Bigger and better than we could even ask or think. These people, they desire so much and they still can't get. Want, can't get. And he says they'll go to the point to kill, and they desire to have, and yet they can't get it. I want it. Rapunzel. I just want some Rapunzel, honey. That's all I want. It's in that lady's backyard back there. But it's not ours. I don't care. I just need it so bad. Get me the Rapunzel. And what happened? They ended up losing their daughter over mama's wants. Your wants will get you killed or others around you. It will make you miserable whether that happens or not. Jesus says, man, I don't want that to happen. James says, I am sick of seeing it happen in church. Church ought to be a place where there's glorified saints who's having a good time, not with long, drawn-out, miserable faces. And church has become a holy hotspot for miserable people. Church has become a holy hotspot for people who can't even get their own life in order because they won't even pray one time with a pure heart to God. He says these people, they lust, they want more, but they don't have. They even go to the point of killing, and they desire to have more, but they can't get it. And you fight, and you war, and you fight, and you war, and you battle, and you battle, and you battle, and you ain't getting nothing. And you won't even have the things that you desire into your life living like that, Christian, so-called. He says our thinking has to change. He says the reason you don't have is because you don't ask. Jesus said, whatsoever you ask, in my name believing, I'll do it for you. But the next verse teaches another principle. It says, but then a lot of folks are praying, and they're saying, gimme, God, gimme, God. I want some stuff for me, God. I want some stuff for me, God. I want more stuff for me. And he says, I told you to pray in my name believing. And he says, I told you through many different verses that I will take care of birds and the bees. I will take care of that business. You never see a bird starving to death unless he's lost his mama and he's a little bird. But an adult bird, they find their food. They know how to get their food. God provides it for them in the ground, buried, via worms, via bugs, via whatever. God has provided sustenance to birds. And he says, if I've done that for birds, how much more am I going to take care of you? I'm going to take care of you. I love you, he says. But there's so many of you Christians, James says, that when you pray, it's all about me. God, give me this. God, give me that. Help me on my test. Help me with this. I want to have the best of that. I want to that. He says, you've lost what I'm talking about. I'm saying pray for others. You pray for others. I'm taking care of you, God says. You pray for other people. Pray for yourself, but don't pray like a selfish, demonic, wise one. How many really needs anything more in your life than what you have right now? And we're all pretty fat in this room. We don't need too much food. Does this body make me look fat? Her shirt, it's funny. Guys, we really don't need much, do we? When it comes down to it. If I was in another country, what I have here is just full of bounty. If I lived in Honduras, if I lived in some parts of Africa, what I have is heavenly. What you have is heavenly. What you have is awesome. You have heat and air in your house, right? We are blessed. Jesus says, I want you concerned for others. He says, your love, your delight is me. I put things in your heart. And guys, when God puts something in your heart, it's about other people. It's not about you. It's not about yourself. It's not about what you can get. It's about what you can give. Because when you make the Lord your delight, He'll release open your eyes to talents that you never knew you had. He'll give you what he calls spiritual gifts. Some's to teach, some's to bless, some's to give, some's to administrate. Some of you, when you give your heart to the Lord fully, you're going to realize, I'm a Spirit-born leader. God's called me to lead. I never knew I was a leader. I always was a follower. But God's got me stepped up. And when you begin to read his word and you understand his heart, you'll see when things are going in a wrong direction, and that's your time to stand up and lead the pack back to the ways of the Lord. Some of you have different gifts, different physical talents. God wants you to give them to him. And it's for the sake of other people. Blessing others. The wisdom that's from above is first pure, then peaceable, easy to be around. You ever been around a gimme person? All they want to do is talk about them. They want to talk about their talents. They want to talk about their experience. They want to talk about their kids. They want to talk about them, and never give a crap about hearing about your story. This is not of God. James says, I am tired of it. And the reason you are so miserable is because you are your only thing in your world. And you have all this fighting on the inside, and now you're going to bring it to me? James said, I'm sick of it. I am sick of you bringing your devils to my party, to my life, to the church of God, in the name of Jesus Christ. He said, Christian, it's time to wake up and know what true Christianity is. It's not doing a bunch of rules, pacts, and purposes, and covenants, and da-da-da-da-da-da. It's about loving him with all your heart, all your soul, all your mind, and all your strength, and loving others as yourself. This is Christianity. People pray every day. People come in when they want counseling. Oh, but I've prayed about it, but I just don't. Are you praying all about you? Gimme, God? He says you ask and you have not because you ask amiss. You ask wrongfully, that you may consume it upon your own hedonism. Oh, it's for my pleasure, Lord. I want a new car. I want a new house. I want a new boat. I want a new blah, blah, blah. How about this? How about find somebody who doesn't have a house and maybe direct them to a place where they can have shelter over their head. One day our joy and our blessing that the Lord's placed in our heart in this ministry is to own homes to house the unhomed until they can get their own home. That'd be a blessing, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be a blessing? They come in and they've got electricity there, they got heat in the winter, and they got air conditioning in the summer. That'd be great. Instead of wanting bigger houses and lands for ourselves, he says, man, go look out for somebody else. There's people out there who are hurting for certain. And if you'll help them, here's what I know about people who are in true need. Not moochers. Not people who play the worldly satanic game of wisdom. And people who go from one place to another place just mooching off of everybody. I'm talking about that real person in need. And when that real person in need, their need is met, they will come and they'll spring up and they'll do great things. They'll work, they'll come back, they'll bless, they'll bring bounty wherever they go. Because when you've been blessed like that, Jesus says, when you've been forgiven a lot, the same will love much. When you realize the sin that you have committed and how atrocious your sin is and has been to God and how much he has forgiven you of this, he said it'll only drive you to loving more. And one of the problems in churches today is we talk about Jesus dying on the cross and we sing the songs and we forget that truth of how much he has forgiven me and where he's kept me from, beginning with myself. Aren't you thankful that he keeps you from yourself? From your deceitful, lying heart that just tells you, oh, here's what you want, here's what you want, here's what you want, when that's not really what I want. What I need is Jesus. And then he tells me, he gives it to me, he shows me what I want. And then he provides those things when I keep him my delight. But you pray and 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 you don't get nothing. Because you ain't praying to the Lord Jesus Christ, that's why. Because when you come to him as your husband, you being the bride of Christ, you know how to ask of a husband to get things the right way without manipulation. I know how to ask of my wife to have us continue this thing. It's through communication. We don't say gimme, 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 gimme to each other. We kind of share and give. And it makes the world go round. I can't wait to wait another 7 years with her. We're on the 70-year plan, you know. Why don't we be on that plan with Jesus? And why don't we be people who now when we pray, we see it coming alive? Because you pray for others. John was sharing me this week that 2 weeks ago we prayed together. And it wasn't 2 days that God started doing some stuff. And the prayer was for somebody else and not myself. And that's how it works. We got to begin to pray for other people and not just consume things on my own hedonism. Oh, what I want, my pleasure for me. God's going to take care of that. You take care of others and pray for them. Hey guys, thanks for joining us tonight. We are C4 Ministries in Jonesboro, Arkansas. Actually, we're a Virch church. We're virtual, man. You'll be able to see us worldwide on the web. We're going to have video, we're going to have audio, we're going to have all sorts of things. We want to know, though, that God is blessing you through our ministry. And please let us know. Contact us by way of email. You'll see that on the screen. You can call us at 870-974-9988, man. And we want God to bless you like He's blessing us.